When successful businessman Davi Correa encounters a homeless woman on the streets, he has no idea she holds the key to his past and future. 8 years ago, he chose his career over love, breaking both their hearts in the process. Now, a desperate arrangement to find a surrogate mother will force them to confront their painful history. What unfolds is a story of redemption, forgiveness, and the power of second chances that will change both their lives forever. Before we start this story, comment below from where you are watching us. The morning sun reflected off the glass tower of Correa Developments, casting sharp shadows across downtown. Inside his penthouse office, Davi Correa stood with his back to the door, staring at the city below. At 30 years old, he was one of the youngest and most successful real estate developers in the region. His dark hair was perfectly styled, his custom suit without a single wrinkle. Everything about him screamed success, but no one could see his hands trembling. "Mr. Correa?" His assistant, Mariana, knocked softly before entering. "The doctor's office called. They want to confirm your follow-up appointment." Davi didn't turn around. "Schedule it and clear my calendar for the rest of the day." "Sir, you have the investors' meeting at 4. I said clear it." His voice was flat, emotionless, the way it had been since he'd collapsed at the construction site 3 weeks ago. When Mariana left, Davi loosened his tie and sank into his leather chair. The doctor's words still echoed in his mind. Not cancer, thankfully, but a serious enough health scare to make him realize how fragile life was, how empty his was. He opened his desk drawer and pulled out a small photo. It was the only picture he had from his childhood. Him at 8 years old, standing in front of yet another foster home, his small face solemn and alone. No parents to hold his hand, no family to call his own. The intercom buzzed. "Mr. Correa, your car is waiting." Instead of going home, Davi instructed his driver to take him to the construction site of his newest luxury condo development. As they drove through the wealthy neighborhoods and into the more run-down areas of the city, Davi stared out the window, seeing the contrast between the gleaming towers he built and the struggling communities they replaced. The car stopped at a red light near an abandoned lot. That's when he saw her. A young woman was sitting on the steps of an old broken-down bus. Her clothes were worn but clean. Her face was thin, with high cheekbones and large, sad eyes that seemed to look through the world rather than at it. Something about her made Davi lean forward. "Stop the car," he ordered. His driver, Carlos, looked concerned. "Sir, this isn't a good area to—" "I said stop." Carlos pulled over. Davi got out and approached the bus. The woman watched him come closer. No fear in her eyes, just quiet resignation. Up close, he could see she was younger than he'd thought, maybe mid-20s. "Hello," Davi said, feeling strangely awkward, despite being a man who commanded rooms full of millionaires. She nodded but didn't speak. "Do you live here?" he asked. "For now." Her voice was soft, slightly raspy, as if she didn't use it much. Davi should have walked away. This wasn't his problem. He'd climbed out of poverty through sheer determination and discipline. No one had helped him, but something kept him rooted to the spot. "What's your name?" he asked. She hesitated. "Erica. I'm Davi Correa." He waited for a flicker of recognition. His name was often in the business pages, but there was none. "Are you hungry?" 20 minutes later, they sat in a small diner. Erica ate slowly, carefully, while Davi watched. She didn't ask why he'd stopped, didn't seem interested in who he was. She simply ate the food, occasionally glancing up at him with those quiet, wary eyes. "Why are you helping me?" she finally asked. Davi didn't have an answer that made sense. "I don't know." When they finished, he surprised himself by making an offer. "I have an empty apartment in one of my buildings. You can stay there while you figure things out." Erica's expression didn't change. Why would you do that? It was a fair question. Davi had never been charitable, never felt the need to help strangers. But the doctor's words kept ringing in his ears. "You need to make some changes, Mr. Correa. Your body is telling you something." "Let's just say I'm trying something new," he answered. She studied him for a long moment. No strings attached. No strings. That night, after setting Erica up in a furnished apartment in one of his mid-tier buildings, Davi returned to his empty penthouse. He poured himself a drink and walked out onto his balcony. The city lights stretched before him like stars. He'd achieved everything he'd set out to do when he'd aged out of the foster system at 18. Money, power, respect. So why did he feel so hollow? His phone rang. It was Dr. Torres. "Mr. Correa, I wanted to discuss your test results further." Davi gripped the railing. "Is it worse than you thought?" No, your condition is manageable with lifestyle changes, but I'm concerned about your stress levels and isolation. Do you have family? Someone who can support you through this? Davy laughed bitterly. I have employees, business partners. That's not what I meant. After hanging up, Davy couldn't shake the conversation. Family. It was something he'd never had, never thought he needed. But facing his mortality had shaken something loose inside him. What would happen if he died tomorrow? Who would remember him? What would he leave behind? The next morning, Davy called Mariana into his office. I want you to find me information about surrogacy. Mariana blinked in surprise. Surrogacy, sir? Yes, I want a child. My child. Someone to carry on my name, my legacy. He turned to the window. Find me options. Over the next few days, Davy immersed himself in research. Agencies, legal documents, costs. He could afford the best, but something held him back from contacting the high-end agencies Mariana had recommended. One evening, as his driver took him past the abandoned lot again, Davy found himself looking for Erica. The bus was still there, but she wasn't. Of course not. She was in his apartment. On impulse, he directed Carlos to take him there. Erica opened the door, looking healthier than she had a week ago. Her face had filled out slightly, and her hair was clean and pulled back. The apartment was spotless. Mr. Correa, she said, surprised. Is something wrong? No, He suddenly felt foolish. I wanted to see how you were settling in. She stepped back to let him enter. It's a beautiful place, thank you. The apartment was basic by Davy's standards. 2 bedrooms, living area, kitchen, but it was clean and comfortable. Erica had made it tidy but added nothing personal, as if she knew her stay was temporary. Have you found work? Davy asked. I've been applying. It's hard without a permanent address, but this helps. She gestured to the apartment. Davy nodded, then found himself asking, Where were you before the bus? Erica's eyes clouded. Different places. I had an apartment with... She stopped. It doesn't matter now. Something in her tone made Davy think of loss, of doors closing. He recognized it because he'd closed so many himself. Erica, I have a proposal for you. The words came out before he'd fully formed the thought. A business arrangement. She tensed visibly. What kind of arrangement? Not that, he said quickly. I'm looking for a surrogate. Someone to carry a child for me. Her eyebrows rose. You want a baby? I want a legacy, he corrected. Someone to inherit what I've built. Don't you have a wife? Girlfriend? Davy shook his head. I don't do relationships, they're messy, complicated. This would be cleaner, a contract. Erica studied him. Why me? There must be agencies for this sort of thing. There are, but they're complicated too. He struggled to articulate what had made him think of her. You seem like someone who understands boundaries, who wouldn't want more than what's agreed to. Because I'm homeless? There was no anger in her voice, just curiosity. Because you haven't asked me for anything, not even when I offered you this place. Erica was quiet for a long moment. What exactly would this involve? Medical screening, IVF with my sperm and a donor egg. You'd carry the baby to term, deliver, and then move on. With enough money to start a new life anywhere you want. How much? Davy named a figure that made her eyes widen slightly. And all I have to do is give you the baby and disappear. That's the idea. He sounded cold, even to himself. Erica walked to the window and looked out at the city. I'll need to think about it. 2 days later, she called the number he'd left. I'll do it, she said, but I have conditions. They met at his office where Erica laid out her terms. She wanted half the money up front, held in a trust she could access after delivery. She wanted medical care from a doctor of her choosing, and she wanted to stay in the apartment for the duration of the pregnancy. After that, she said, you'll never see me again. Davy agreed readily. It was exactly what he wanted. No complications, no messy emotions. Just a straightforward transaction that would give him what he needed, an heir. The next few weeks were a flurry of activity. Medical tests confirmed Erica was healthy. Davy selected an egg donor from a catalogue, a woman with dark hair and eyes like his, a clean medical history, and high intelligence scores. The fertilization process went smoothly, and 3 months after their first meeting, Erica was officially pregnant with Davy's child. To Davy's surprise, he found himself increasingly invested in the pregnancy. He insisted Erica move to a larger apartment in one of his luxury buildings, hired a housekeeper to help her, and made sure she had the best prenatal care money could buy. The baby is my investment, he explained, when Mariana questioned the extravagance. I'm protecting my investment. But as the weeks passed, something shifted. Davi found himself stopping by the apartment more often than necessary. He told himself it was to check on the pregnancy, but he found himself lingering, watching Erica as she moved around the space. She remained quiet, reserved, but occasionally he caught glimpses of something else. When she smiled at a funny scene in a movie they were watching, or when she absently hummed to herself while preparing tea, small moments that hinted at a person he didn't know. One evening, 6 months into the pregnancy, Davi arrived to find Erica sitting on the balcony, her hand resting on her swollen belly, her eyes closed as she hummed a soft melody. "What's that song?" he asked. Erica's eyes opened, but she didn't seem startled. "Just a lullaby. My mother used to sing it to me. You never talk about your family. Neither do you." Davi sat in the chair opposite her. "There's not much to tell. Foster care from age 6. No one ever wanted to keep me." He hadn't meant to share that, hadn't spoken of it to anyone in years. But in the soft evening light with the city spread out below them, it seemed easier somehow. Erica nodded. "That explains a lot. What about you?" She was quiet for so long, he thought she wouldn't answer. "My mother died when I was 16. My father was never in the picture." "So you understand," Davi said. "Being alone. Everyone understands being alone, Davi. Even people with families." It was the first time she'd used his first name, and something about it made him uncomfortable. Too familiar, too close. "I should go," he said, standing abruptly. "Do you need anything?" Erica shook her head, that sad smile touching her lips again. "Nothing you can give me." That night, Davi dreamed of a face he hadn't thought of in years. A young woman with large, sad eyes and a smile that had once made his heart race. He woke with a start, the name on his lips. Erica. But it couldn't be the same person. That Erica, the one he'd dated secretly 8 years ago, the one he'd publicly humiliated when his business partners had discovered he was seeing a waitress from the coffee shop near his first office. That Erica had disappeared from his life after he'd chosen his reputation over love. It was just a coincidence, he told himself. Erica was a common name. But as he lay awake in his empty king-sized bed, surrounded by all the luxury money could buy, Davi Correa faced an uncomfortable truth. He had everything he'd ever worked for, and nothing that truly mattered. And somewhere in a building he owned, carrying a child with his DNA, was a woman who had every reason to hate him, if she was who he feared she might be. But she couldn't be. He would have recognized her, wouldn't he? The following week, Davy couldn't stop thinking about the possibility. Could the pregnant woman living in his apartment really be the same Erica from his past? He pulled up his company's digital archives on his laptop, searching for photos from 8 years ago when he was just starting out. There she was, a staff photo from the opening of his first office building. In the background, serving coffee, was a young woman with those same large, dark eyes. Her hair had been longer then, her face fuller. The name tag on her uniform read, Erica. Davi stared at the photo, then pulled up a recent picture he'd taken of the surrogate Erica at her last doctor's appointment. He placed the images side by side. The resemblance was there, but the years had changed her. The new Erica was thinner, her eyes holding a sadness that hadn't been there before. If it was the same woman, life had not been kind to her. It can't be, he muttered to himself, closing his laptop. The coincidence would be too cruel, too perfect. Later that day, Davi stopped by Erica's apartment with the excuse of bringing her prenatal vitamins. She opened the door wearing a loose dress that draped over her 7-month pregnant belly. "You didn't need to bring these," she said, accepting the bag. "I could have had them delivered. I was in the neighborhood," Davy lied. He hadn't been able to stay away, not with the questions burning in his mind. As she moved around the kitchen making tea, Davi studied her carefully. "Have we met before?" he finally asked. "Before the bus, I mean." Erica's hand paused briefly as she reached for a mug. "Why do you ask?" "You seem familiar somehow." She turned to face him, her expression calm. "People often think that. I have one of those faces." "Where did you work before things got difficult for you?" "Different places." She handed him a cup of tea. "Does it matter?" "I'm just curious about the mother of my child." "I'm not the mother," Erica corrected him gently. "I'm just the carrier. That was our agreement." Davi nodded, feeling strangely disappointed by her answer. "Right. Of course." They sat in the living room, a careful distance between them. The afternoon sun streamed through the windows, casting a warm glow over the space. Erica had added a few touches to the apartment. A plant here, a small painting there. Nothing expensive, nothing permanent. "Do you know if it's a boy or a girl?" Davi asked, realizing he'd never asked before. The doctor knows. I didn't want to find out. She hesitated. Do you want to know? Davy considered this. He'd always assumed it would be a boy to carry on his name, his business. No, he decided. Let it be a surprise. Erica smiled slightly, the first real smile he'd seen from her. It transformed her face, making her look younger, more like the woman in that old photograph. What? He asked. Nothing. It's just nice to see you taking an interest. Most of the time you talk about the baby like it's a business investment. Davy felt his face flush. That's not fair. I've provided everything. Money isn't everything, Davy. She said it softly, without accusation, but the words stung. It is when you've never had it, he replied, thinking of his childhood, of the years of poverty and uncertainty. I know. Erica looked down at her tea. Believe me, I know. Something in her tone made Davy wonder again about her past. How had she ended up on that bus? What had happened to bring her so low? What's your last name? He asked suddenly. Erica looked up, surprised. Why? We're having a baby together. I should at least know your full name. She hesitated. Silva. Erica Silva. The name hit him like a punch to the stomach. Silva. The same last name as the Erica from the coffee shop. It couldn't be a coincidence. What's wrong? She asked, watching his face. Nothing, he said quickly. Silva is a common name. Erica studied him for a long moment. Yes, it is. For the next several weeks, Davy found himself drawn more and more to Erica's apartment. He brought her books, special foods for her cravings, baby items he'd bought on impulse. She accepted everything with that same quiet grace, never asking for more, never seeming impressed by his wealth. One evening, he arrived to find her sitting on the floor of what would be the nursery, sorting through a box of baby clothes. You don't need to do that, he said from the doorway. I can hire someone. I like doing it. She held up a tiny white onesie. It makes it real somehow. Davy came into the room and sat down across from her. The nursery was simple but perfect. Soft yellow walls, a white crib, a rocking chair by the window. He'd let Erica choose everything, surprised by how much he trusted her taste. Did you ever think about having children? He asked. I mean, before this arrangement. Erica's hands stilled on the baby clothes. Once. A long time ago. What happened? She looked up at him, and for a moment, her eyes held such deep sadness that Davy almost reached for her. Life happened, she said simply. The man I loved, he had other priorities. Davy's heart pounded. What kind of priorities? His career, his image. She folded a small blanket with careful precision. He was ashamed of me. The words hung in the air between them. Davy couldn't breathe. It was her. It had to be. The Erica he'd dated in secret for almost a year. The Erica he'd pretended not to know at the company party when his investor had made a crude comment about the help. The Erica who had looked at him with tears in her eyes and said, "If you leave me behind, you'll never know what you truly lost." But before he could say anything, Erica winced and put a hand to her belly. What's wrong? He asked, alarm cutting through his shock. Nothing. The baby's just kicking. She hesitated, then asked, Do you want to feel? No one had ever asked Davy that question before. He nodded, not trusting himself to speak. Erica took his hand and placed it on the side of her rounded belly. For a moment, nothing happened. Then he felt it, a strong, definite push against his palm. That's... He couldn't find the words. Your child, Erica finished for him, her voice soft. Davy looked up from his hand on her belly to her face. Their eyes met, and for a moment the years fell away. He saw the young woman who had once loved him, who had believed in him when he was nothing but an ambitious young man with dreams. Erica, he began, not sure what he was going to say, but she pulled back, breaking the connection. It's getting late, I should rest. Davy stood, feeling off balance. Of course, I'll go. At the door, he turned back. Erica, if there's anything you need, I'm fine, Davy. She stood in the hallway, one hand resting protectively over her belly. Really? That night, Davy couldn't sleep. He paced his penthouse, memories flooding back. Erica from the coffee shop. How they'd met when he'd spilled coffee on his only good shirt before a meeting. How she'd helped him clean it up, laughing at his panic. How they'd started talking, then dating, always in secret because he'd been desperate to be taken seriously by the wealthy investors he was courting. He remembered their last night together, the company party celebrating his first major development deal, how Erica had come as a server, not a guest, because he'd asked her to, because he'd been too cowardly to introduce her as his girlfriend, the way her face had crumpled when he'd laughed along with the investor, who'd slapped her backside and said, The help gets prettier every year, doesn't it, Correa? He'd found her afterward, crying in the empty kitchen. It was just business, he'd said. You know how important this deal is to me. More important than me, she'd replied. More important than us. There is no us, Erica, not really. We're from different worlds. She'd looked at him then, her eyes red but suddenly dry. No, Davy, we're not. We both came from nothing. The difference is I never forgot it. The next day, she hadn't shown up for work. He'd gone to her small apartment, only to find it empty. She'd vanished. He'd told himself it was for the best, that she'd only have held him back. He'd buried himself in work, in success, in proving to the world that Davy Correa was somebody. And now here she was, carrying his child. It couldn't be a coincidence. But why hadn't she said anything? Why agree to this arrangement if she hated him? Unless she didn't hate him, unless there was another reason. The following morning, Davy called Dr. Torres. I need to know about the baby's health, he said. Any potential issues or concerns? Everything looks perfect, Mr. Correa, the doctor assured him. The surrogate is in excellent health and the baby is developing normally. What about genetic conditions? In my family, we did all the standard screening. There were no red flags. But you don't know my family history. I don't even know it. There was a pause. That's true, but modern screening is very thorough. Is there something specific you're worried about? Davy thought of Erica's words from 8 years ago. If you leave me behind, you'll never know what you truly lost. No, he said finally. Nothing specific. As the pregnancy entered its final month, Davy found himself spending more time at Erica's apartment than his own. He told himself it was because the birth was approaching, that he needed to be prepared. But the truth was, he felt more at home in her simple, comfortable space than in his cold, perfect penthouse. They fell into a routine. He would bring dinner, they would eat together, sometimes watch a movie. They rarely talked about the past, about who they had been to each other. But sometimes when Erica thought he wasn't looking, he would catch her watching him with an expression he couldn't quite read. One evening, as they sat on the balcony watching the sunset, Davy finally gathered his courage. I know who you are, he said quietly. I remember. Erica didn't look surprised. She just kept gazing at the horizon. I wondered when you'd say something. Why didn't you tell me? Why agree to this arrangement? She turned to him then, her eyes clear and direct. Would you have hired me if you'd known? No, he admitted. Probably not. That's why. But after everything that happened, why would you want to carry my child? Erica looked down at her hands. I have my reasons. Tell me, he pressed. Please. She was quiet for so long, he thought she wouldn't answer. Then she said, When you left me, Davy, I was pregnant. The world seemed to stop. What? I found out the day after that party. I was going to tell you, but then, she shrugged. You made it clear where I stood in your life. Davy felt sick. What happened to the baby? I lost it. 3 months later. Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled slightly. The doctors said it was just one of those things, nothing I did wrong, but I always wondered if it was the stress, the extra shifts I had to take, the cheaper apartment I had to move to when I couldn't afford the old one anymore. Erica, I had no idea. How could you? You never looked for me. There was no accusation in her voice, just a simple statement of fact. By the time I got back on my feet, you were in all the business magazines. Davy Correa, self-made millionaire, too successful to even remember the girl from the coffee shop. Then why do this? Why now? Erica placed her hands on her belly, a protective gesture he'd noticed before. Because when I saw you that day standing by the bus looking so lost despite all your success, I thought maybe there was a reason, a chance to finally close this chapter of my life. By giving me a child? By giving your child what I never had, a father who shows up. She looked at him directly. Will you, Davy? Will you show up for this baby in all the ways that matter? Not just with money, but with your time, your heart. Before he could answer, Erica gasped and doubled over. What is it? He asked, alarmed. The baby, she whispered, her face pale. It's coming. Davy helped her to her feet, his mind racing. They had planned for this. The hospital bag was packed, the birthing plan in place, but nothing had prepared him for the fear that gripped him as he watched Erica's face contort with pain. I'll call the doctor, he said, reaching for his phone. Everything's going to be fine. But as he helped her down to the car, as he drove through the night to the hospital, Davy Correa wasn't thinking about the surrogate contract or his legacy or his company. He was thinking about the woman beside him, about the years they'd lost, about the baby that was coming, a baby that might just give them both a second chance he never knew he wanted. The hospital corridors were bright and sterile as Davi rushed alongside the gurney carrying Erica. Her face was tight with pain, her breathing coming in short gasps as another contraction hit. Nurses moved efficiently around them, checking monitors and IVs. "Sir, you'll need to wait outside while we examine her," a nurse told Davy as they reached the delivery room. "No," Erica said, grabbing his hand. "Let him stay." The nurse looked between them. "Are you the father?" "Yes," Davy said without hesitation. It wasn't a lie, not really. Dr. Lena Vargas, the obstetrician Erica had chosen, arrived wearing green scrubs. "The baby's coming early, but not dangerously so. Everything looks good, Erica." Davy stood at the head of the bed, feeling helpless as Erica grimaced through another contraction. "What can I do?" he asked. "Just stay," she whispered, her eyes finding his. "Don't leave." Those words hit him like a physical blow. Don't leave. Wasn't that exactly what he'd done 8 years ago? Left her when she needed him most? "I'm not going anywhere," he promised, and meant it. The next few hours blurred together in a haze of doctor's instructions, Erica's labored breathing and the steady beep of monitors. Davi stayed by her side, holding her hand, wiping her forehead with a cool cloth, doing whatever small things he could to ease her pain. "You're doing great," he told her when she cried out during a particularly strong contraction. "You're the strongest person I know." Erica looked up at him, sweat dampening her hair. "You don't know me anymore, Davy." "I want to," he said quietly. "After this is over, I want to know you again." Before she could respond, Dr. Vargas announced, "It's time to push, Erica. The baby's ready to come out." What followed was the most terrifying and awe-inspiring experience of Davy's life. Erica's strength amazed him as she followed the doctor's instructions, pushing when told, breathing when told, never once complaining, despite the obvious agony. "I can see the head," Dr. Vargas said. "One more big push, Erica." Erica gripped Davi's hand so tightly he thought his fingers might break, but he didn't pull away. She gave one final, tremendous push, and suddenly the room was filled with the tiny, angry cries of a newborn. "It's a girl," Dr. Vargas announced, lifting the squirming, red-faced infant. "A girl," Davi repeated, stunned. He had been so sure it would be a boy. He hadn't even considered a girl. The nurses quickly cleaned the baby, wrapped her in a blanket and placed her in Erica's arms. Erica's face transformed as she looked down at the tiny bundle, her exhaustion momentarily forgotten, replaced by a look of such tender love that Davy felt his throat tighten. "She's perfect," Erica whispered, touching the baby's cheek with one finger. Davy moved closer, eager to see his daughter for the first time. Erica turned the baby slightly so he could see her face, and that's when he saw it. On the baby's left shoulder, just visible above the edge of the blanket, was a small heart-shaped birthmark, exactly like the one Erica had, the one he used to kiss when they were together, the one that had been their private joke, her heart on her sleeve. Davy's legs gave out. He dropped to his knees beside the hospital bed, his mind reeling. "Davy?" Erica's voice seemed to come from far away. "Are you okay?" He couldn't speak, couldn't process what he was seeing. It wasn't possible. The baby had been created with his sperm and a donor egg. Erica was just the carrier. The baby shouldn't have her birthmark. Unless... the egg, he finally managed to say, looking up at Erica. "It wasn't a donor, was it?" Erica's eyes filled with tears. "No," she admitted softly. "It was mine." "But how?" "The paperwork, the clinic. I spoke to the doctor, explained our history. She agreed to use my egg instead of the donor's." Erica looked down at the baby. "I wanted her to be ours, Davy. Truly ours. The baby we should have had 8 years ago." Davy felt like the room was spinning. "Why didn't you tell me? Would it have mattered? Would you have cared that it was my egg and not some stranger's?" He wanted to say yes, but the truth was, he didn't know. The Davi from a few months ago, the one who'd seen the baby as nothing more than an heir, a legacy, that Davi might not have cared, might even have been angry at the deception. But now, looking at the tiny girl with Erica's birthmark, he felt something he'd never experienced before. A fierce, overwhelming love that threatened to crack open his carefully constructed walls. "She's beautiful," he whispered, reaching out to touch the baby's hand. Tiny fingers curled around his and he felt tears burn his eyes. A nurse approached. "Have you decided on a name?" Davi looked at Erica, realizing they'd never discussed it. This was supposed to be a business arrangement. Names hadn't been part of the deal. "Sophia," Erica said, looking down at the baby. "It means wisdom." "Sophia," Davi repeated, testing the name. "Sophia Correa." It sounded right. The nurse smiled and made a note on her chart. Sofia Correa it is. After the initial excitement died down, the nurses took the baby to be properly cleaned and checked. Erica lay back against the pillows, exhaustion finally catching up with her. "You should rest," Davi told her, pulling a chair closer to her bed. "Are you angry?" she asked, her voice small. Davy considered the question. "I should be, you lied to me. Not about everything, just about the egg." "Why, Erica? Why go through all this? Why not just tell me who you were from the beginning?" Erica turned her head to look at him. "Would you have believed me if I'd told you I forgave you? That I wanted to give us, a second chance? Or would you have thought I was after your money?" Davi had to admit she was right. He would have been suspicious, would have pushed her away again. 8 years is a long time, he said quietly. "What happened to you after I left?" Erica's eyes grew distant. "I lost the baby, lost my job, lost my apartment. For a while, I lost myself." She twisted the hospital blanket between her fingers. "I moved to another city, started over. Things were okay for a while. I even got engaged. What happened?" "He died. Car accident. 2 years ago." Her voice was flat, as if she'd cried all the tears she had for that loss. "After that, everything fell apart again. I couldn't keep up with the bills, couldn't find a decent job. One thing led to another, and eventually, the bus." Davi finished for her. She nodded. "The bus. And then I showed up." "Like some kind of cosmic joke," Erica said, a faint smile touching her lips. "The man who broke my heart, offering me a way out." "I didn't recognize you," Davi admitted, ashamed. "How could I not have recognized you? I didn't want you to. At first I was going to say no to your offer, but then I thought about the baby, our baby, the one we lost." Erica's voice broke. "I thought maybe this was a chance to make something right, to give you the family you never had, to give myself closure. And then what? You just disappear with the money and I'd never know the truth?" "That was the plan." She looked at him directly. "Until I started to see how you changed, how you cared about the baby, about me even though you didn't know who I was. It made me wonder if maybe—" She didn't finish the thought, but she didn't need to. Davi understood. She'd wondered if there was a chance for them, a real chance, not based on lies or money or arrangements, but on the connection they'd once had, the connection he'd thrown away. A nurse returned with Sofia, now clean and wrapped in a fresh blanket. "Someone wants her mama," she said, placing the baby in Erica's arms. Davi watched as Erica cradled their daughter, her face glowing despite her exhaustion. He'd never seen anything more beautiful in his life. "Erica," he began, not sure what he was going to say, only knowing he needed to say something. But before he could continue, Erica's expression changed. Her face went pale and her eyes rolled back. "Erica!" Davi stood, alarmed. "Nurse, something's wrong!" The monitors beside the bed began beeping frantically. The nurse quickly took Sofia and hit an emergency button on the wall. Suddenly the room was filled with medical staff, all moving with urgent purpose. "BP's dropping! She's hemorrhaging! Get the crash cart!" Davy was pushed aside as doctors swarmed around Erica. He stood frozen, watching in horror as they worked on her, calling out medical terms he didn't understand. "Sir, you need to step outside," a nurse told him firmly, guiding him toward the door. "What's happening? Is she going to be okay?" Davy demanded, his heart pounding with fear. "The doctor will update you as soon as possible. Please, wait in the family room." The next hour was the longest of Davy's life. He paced the small waiting room, unable to sit, unable to think clearly. All he could see was Erica's pale face as she collapsed. All he could think was that he might lose her again, this time forever. A nurse came in with Sofia, now sleeping peacefully. "Would you like to hold your daughter, Mr. Correa? We've checked her thoroughly. She's perfectly healthy." Davi hesitated, then carefully took the tiny bundle. Sofia stirred slightly but didn't wake. He stared down at her face. So small, so perfect, with Erica's delicate features and his dark hair. "Don't worry," he whispered to the sleeping infant. "Your mom is strong. She's the strongest person I know." Finally, Dr. Vargas entered the room, looking tired but relieved. "Mr. Correa, Erica is stable now. She had postpartum hemorrhaging, severe bleeding after delivery. It's not uncommon, but hers was particularly serious." "Is she going to be okay?" Davi asked, his voice tight with emotion. "Yes, but she'll need time to recover. We've given her blood transfusions and medication to stop the bleeding. She's resting now." Davi closed his eyes briefly, overwhelmed with relief. "Can I see her?" "Briefly. She's very weak and needs rest." When Davi entered Erica's room, still holding Sofia, he was shocked by how pale and small Erica looked in the hospital bed. IVs ran into her arms, and monitors beeped quietly beside her. Her eyes were closed, her breathing shallow. "Erica," he said softly, approaching the bed. Her eyes opened slowly, focusing on him with effort. "The baby," she whispered. "She's right here. She's perfect." Davi moved closer so Erica could see Sophia. A weak smile touched Erica's lips. "Good. You scared me," Davi admitted, his voice breaking. "I thought I was going to lose you." "You can't lose something you don't have, Davi," Erica murmured, her eyes starting to close again. "But I do have you, both of you." The words came from his heart, surprising even him. "If you'll let me." Erica didn't respond, having drifted back to sleep. Davi wasn't sure if she'd heard him. He stood there for a long time, holding their daughter, watching Erica's chest rise and fall with each breath, making silent promises to both of them. Later, after the nurses had taken Sophia to the nursery and Davi had been persuaded to go home to shower and change, he returned to find Erica awake and looking marginally better. Some color had returned to her cheeks, and she was sitting up slightly against the pillows. "You came back," she said when he entered the room. "I told you I would." He sat in the chair beside her bed. "How are you feeling?" "Like I almost died giving birth to your child," she said, a hint of her old spark in her eyes. "Our child," Davi corrected gently. Erica studied his face. "You're not angry about the egg?" "I was shocked. I'm still processing it. But no, I'm not angry." He took a deep breath. "Erica, these past months, getting to know you again, watching you carry our child, it's changed me. I'm not the same man who left you 8 years ago. People don't change that easily, Davy." "No, they don't. But sometimes life forces them to." He reached for her hand, relieved when she didn't pull away. "When I saw you collapse, when I thought I might lose you, I realized what really matters. It's not the buildings or the money or the status, it's this, family, love." Erica's eyes filled with tears. "Don't say things you don't mean. Not now." "I mean every word." Davi squeezed her hand. "I know I don't deserve a second chance. I know I hurt you in ways I can never make up for, but if you'll let me, I want to try. I want to be the father Sophia deserves, and maybe someday the man you deserve." Before Erica could respond, a nurse entered with Sophia. "Feeding time," she announced cheerfully, placing the baby in Erica's arms. Davi stood to leave, giving them privacy, but Erica caught his sleeve. "Stay," she said softly. "Please." So he stayed, watching as Erica fed their daughter, his heart so full it felt like it might burst. This was what had been missing from his life. This was what all the money and success in the world couldn't buy. As Sophia finished nursing and drifted off to sleep, Erica looked up at Davy. "I wrote you a letter," she said, in case something happened to me during the birth. It's in my bag." Davy found the bag the hospital had stored with Erica's belongings. Inside was a sealed envelope with his name on it. "Do you still want me to read it?" he asked, holding it up. Erica nodded. "It says everything I couldn't say to your face." With trembling hands, Davi opened the envelope and unfolded the letter inside. "I never wanted your money," he read aloud, his voice catching. "I just wanted to give your daughter what I never had, a father who shows up. If you can do that, I'll leave without hating you. If you can't, don't ever look for us again." He looked up from the letter to find Erica watching him, tears streaming down her face. "I'll show up," he promised, his own eyes wet. "Every day, for both of you, if you'll let me." Erica didn't answer right away. She looked down at Sophia, sleeping peacefully in her arms, then back at Davy. "I can't make any promises," she finally said. "Too much has happened, but I'm willing to try, for Sophia's sake." It wasn't everything Davy wanted to hear, but it was enough. A start, a chance. "For Sophia's sake," he agreed, though in his heart he knew it was for so much more. As he sat beside Erica's hospital bed, watching over the two people who had become his whole world in the span of a few months, Davi Correa, the man who had built an empire but never a home, finally understood what it meant to truly have something worth fighting for. 3 days later, Erica was released from the hospital. The doctors had warned that her recovery would take time. The hemorrhaging had left her weak and anemic. She would need rest, care, and support. "I can hire nurses," Davi offered as he helped her into his car, Sophia securely fastened in her car seat. "The best in the city." Erica shook her head. "I don't want strangers hovering over me all day." "Then let me help you," Davi said. "Both of you." Erica studied his face, searching for sincerity. "This isn't what you signed up for, Davi. Our agreement was that I'd disappear after the birth." "Plans change," he said simply. "People change." As they drove through the city, Davy didn't take the route to Erica's apartment. Instead, he headed toward a residential neighborhood of elegant homes with spacious yards. "Where are we going?" Erica asked, noticing the unfamiliar streets. "I bought a house," Davy admitted, "while you were in the hospital." "You what?" "I realized my penthouse isn't a place to raise a child. It's cold, impersonal. I want Sophia to have a real home, with a yard, space to play." He glanced at Erica. "And I want you to stay, at least until you're fully recovered." "Davy, just look at it," he said. "Please." The house was beautiful, a two-story home with a wraparound porch, tall windows and a garden blooming with flowers. Not ostentatious like his other properties, but warm and inviting. "It has 4 bedrooms, Davy explained as he helped Erica inside, carrying Sophia in her carrier. "A nursery for Sophia, a room for you, one for me, and a guest room. You'd have your own space, your own bathroom, and there's a housekeeper who comes 3 times a week." Erica moved slowly through the house, taking in the comfortable furniture, the soft colors, the nursery already set up with everything Sophia might need. Davy had clearly spent the 3 days since Sophia's birth preparing for this moment. "It's lovely," she admitted. "But Davy, I can't just move in with you. People will talk." "Let them," he said with a shrug. "I don't care what people think anymore." "Since when?" The question wasn't accusatory, just surprised. "Since I almost lost you both." He set Sophia's carrier down gently. "I'm not asking for anything, Erica. Just a chance to be there for Sophia, and for you while you recover." Erica hesitated, torn between pride and practicality. She was weak, exhausted, and the thought of caring for a newborn alone in her apartment was daunting. "Separate rooms," she confirmed. "Completely separate, I promise. And when I'm recovered, then you decide what happens next." She nodded slowly. "Okay, but just until I'm back on my feet." The next few weeks established a new routine. Davy surprised Erica by taking a leave of absence from work, something unheard of for the workaholic businessman. He was there for every midnight feeding, every diaper change, every tiny milestone of Sophia's early life. Erica watched with growing amazement as Davy transformed from the cold, ambitious man she'd once known into a devoted father who sang silly songs to make Sophia smile and didn't mind when she spit up on his expensive shirts. "Who are you?" she asked one evening as they sat on the porch, Sophia sleeping peacefully in Davy's arms. What happened to the man who cared more about his image than anything else? Davy looked down at their daughter, a soft smile on his face. He met a woman sleeping on a bus, a woman who had every reason to hate him but chose compassion instead, a woman who gave him the greatest gift imaginable. He looked up at Erica. "You happened, Erica. You and Sophia." As the weeks passed, Erica grew stronger. The color returned to her cheeks, her energy began to return. She found herself enjoying the quiet domesticity of their arrangement, making breakfast together in the morning, taking walks around the neighborhood with Sophia in her stroller, sitting on the porch in the evenings, talking about everything and nothing. One morning, Mariana, Davy's assistant, arrived at the house with a stack of papers. "These need your signature," she told Davy, glancing curiously at Erica, who was feeding Sophia in the living room. "Can't they wait?" Davy asked, frowning at the interruption. "The Torres project is at a critical stage," Mariana explained. "The investors are getting nervous about your absence." Davy sighed. "Fine, I'll look at them later." After Mariana left, Erica said, "You should go back to work, Davy. You can't put your life on hold forever." "This is my life now," he said, gesturing to her and Sophia. "The company can manage without me for a while longer, but it's important to you. Your legacy, remember?" Davy looked at Sophia, now sleeping in Erica's arms. "My legacy is right there and here," he added, his eyes meeting Erica's. That night, unable to sleep, Erica wandered downstairs and found Davy in his home office, surrounded by the papers Mariana had brought. He looked tired but focused, the businessman she remembered. "You miss it," she said from the doorway. Davy looked up, startled. "I didn't hear you come down. You didn't answer my question." He set down his pen. "Parts of it, yes. I've built something significant. It matters to a lot of people, employees, clients, communities." Erica came into the office and sat across from him. "Then you should go back. Sophia and I will be fine." "Are you trying to get rid of me?" Davy asked, only half joking. "No, I'm trying to be realistic. This arrangement we have, it's been nice. Better than nice, but it's not real life, Davy." "Why not? Why can't this be real life?" Erica sighed. "Because we've been avoiding the past, pretending the hurt never happened. But it did. You left me when I needed you most. I know, Davy said quietly, and I'll regret that for the rest of my life. It's not about making you feel guilty. It's about whether we can build something real on such a broken foundation. Davy stood and walked to the window, looking out at the dark garden. When I was growing up in foster care, there was this one home I stayed in for almost a year, the longest I'd been anywhere. The couple who ran it was strict but fair. The man, Mr. Rodriguez, was a contractor. He used to take me to work sites sometimes. Erica listened, surprised by this rare glimpse into Davy's childhood. One day, we went to this old house that had been badly damaged in a fire. The foundation was cracked, the walls were scorched. I asked him why they didn't just tear it down and start over. You know what he said? Erica shook her head. He said, "Sometimes the strongest homes are the ones that have been rebuilt after a disaster, because you know exactly where the weaknesses were and you fix them right this time." Davy turned to face her. "Our foundation was broken, Erica. I broke it. But maybe if we're both willing, we can rebuild something stronger." "I don't know if I can trust you again," Erica admitted. "Not completely. I don't expect you to. Not right away. Trust has to be earned, and I have a lot to make up for." He came back to the desk and sat down. "But I'd like the chance to try, every day for as long as it takes." The sincerity in his voice touched something in Erica's heart. "Let's take it one day at a time," she said softly. A month later, Davy returned to work part-time, while Erica stayed home with Sophia. It wasn't a perfect arrangement. There were arguments, moments of doubt, old hurts that surfaced unexpectedly. But there were also moments of joy, of connection, of building something new. Davy kept his word. He showed up for doctor appointments, for late-night feedings, for the small ordinary moments that made up a life together. He never pushed Erica for more than she was ready to give, respecting the boundaries she set, waiting patiently for her heart to heal, and slowly it did. One evening, 6 months after Sophia's birth, Davy came home to find Erica sitting on the porch swing, watching the sunset. Sophia was already asleep inside, the baby monitor on the table beside her. "Beautiful," Davy said, sitting beside her. "It is," Erica agreed, looking at the sky painted in shades of pink and gold. "I wasn't talking about the sunset." Davy's voice was soft, careful, as if afraid of breaking the fragile peace they'd built. Erica turned to look at him, really look at him. The man who had once broken her heart, the man who had changed diapers at 3 a.m. without complaint, the man who had held her when memories of their lost baby had overwhelmed her one night, who had cried with her for what might have been. "Erica," Davy began, "I know we agreed to take things slow, and I've tried to respect that, but I need to ask, is there a chance for us? Not just as Sophia's parents, but as more?" Erica didn't answer right away. She thought about the past months, about the man Davy had become. Or perhaps the man he'd always been beneath the ambition and fear that had driven him. "I'm not the same person I was 8 years ago," she said finally, "and neither are you." "No, we're not," he agreed. "We've both been broken and put back together differently. Stronger, maybe," Erica suggested, "like that house Mr. Rodriguez rebuilt." Davy's face brightened at her reference to his story. "Does that mean there's hope?" Instead of answering with words, Erica leaned forward and kissed him. It was gentle, tentative, a beginning rather than a promise. When she pulled back, Davy's eyes were wide with surprise and joy. "I'd say that's a yes," he whispered. Erica smiled, the first real, unguarded smile she'd given him since they'd reunited. "It's a maybe, a strong maybe." "I'll take it," Davy said, taking her hand in his. They sat together as darkness fell, not needing to fill the silence with words. The journey ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be more difficult conversations, more healing to do, but for the first time, Erica believed they might actually make it. 1 year later, on Sophia's first birthday, the house was filled with laughter and music. Davy had insisted on a proper celebration, inviting neighbors, co-workers, and the few friends Erica had reconnected with. Sophia, now walking with the help of furniture, was the center of attention in her little blue dress, her dark curls framing a face that was the perfect blend of her parents. Erica watched her daughter toddle from person to person, charming everyone with her bright smile. "She's going to be a heartbreaker," said Mariana, now a friend rather than just Davy's assistant. "Like her father," Erica agreed, but without bitterness. The past year had healed old wounds, creating new memories to replace the painful ones. As the party wound down and guests began to leave, Davy appeared at Erica's side, carrying a sleepy Sophia. "I think the birthday girl is ready for bed," he said, handing their daughter to Erica. I'll take her up, Erica said, kissing Sophia's forehead. Can you see everyone out? When Erica came back downstairs after putting Sophia to bed, she found Davi in the kitchen, loading the dishwasher. Domestic tasks that would have been beneath him a year ago now seemed to come naturally. Thank you for today, she said, leaning against the counter. It was perfect. Not quite perfect, Davi replied, closing the dishwasher. There's still one thing missing. What's that? Davi reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Erica's breath caught as he opened it to reveal a simple but elegant diamond ring. I'm not asking for an answer right now, he said quickly. I know we're still finding our way, but I wanted you to know that I'm all in, Erica. You and Sophia, you're my world now, and whenever you're ready, if you're ever ready, I want to make it official. Erica took the box, her hands trembling slightly. I never thought we'd be here, she admitted. When I saw you standing by that bus a year and a half ago, I thought it was the universe's cruelest joke. And now? Now I think it might have been the universe giving us a second chance. She closed the box and handed it back to him. Ask me again in 6 months. Disappointment flickered across Davi's face, but he nodded, accepting her decision. But in the meantime, Erica continued, stepping closer to him, I do love you, Davi Correa. Despite everything, because of everything, I love the man you've become. The joy that lit up Davi's face was worth every moment of pain they'd endured to get here. He pulled her into his arms, holding her as if she were the most precious thing in the world. I love you too, he whispered against her hair, more than I ever thought possible. Later that night, as they lay in bed, the separate rooms long since abandoned, Erica rested her head on Davi's chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. Do you believe in fate? She asked sleepily. I didn't used to, Davi answered, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on her back. But how else do you explain us finding each other again? What are the odds that of all the homeless people in this city, I'd stop to help the one woman I'd wronged years ago? Maybe it wasn't chance, Erica murmured. Maybe it was Sophia. Maybe she was always meant to be, and the universe just needed to get us back together to make it happen. Davi smiled in the darkness. Our daughter, the matchmaker, before she was even born. She has your determination, Erica said with a soft laugh. And your heart, Davi added. Thank God for that. As they drifted toward sleep, Davi thought about the long, winding path that had led them here. The mistakes, the pain, the second chances. He thought about the face he couldn't forget, the face that had haunted his dreams for 8 years, the face he now woke up to every morning, and he silently thanked whatever force had brought them back together. Upstairs, Sophia slept peacefully in her crib, the small heart-shaped birthmark on her shoulder a permanent reminder of the love that had created her, a love that, despite everything, had found its way home.